Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your natal Mars in conjunction with Neptune. I must confess that when I have done personal readings and have seen this in people's charts, it has been kind of difficult to interpret because these two planets are quite different, and when they come together, it's hard to understand how this plays out in a practical way. Mars is the god of war, and so it has that really forceful, forward kind of energy behind it. So Mars can be your drive, your will, your ambition, how you assert yourself. Not everybody asserts themselves in the same way. Some people are kind of pushy, for lack of a better word. Some people are just calmly assertive, and they're not really pushy, but they're not a pushover. Some people are a pushover, and they're afraid to speak up for themselves, and they basically don't ask for what they need. And maybe they're passive aggressive, and that can also be connected to Mars. And so that's one aspect of Mars too. Mars is the sex drive, the libido. Mars, what else is Mars? Oh, your anger management issues, or actually, it's just how you express anger. And again, not everybody does that in the same way. So then you think about Neptune, and Neptune is the ruler of the 12th house. So Mars rules the first, and Neptune rules the 12th. So we're talking about Aries and Pisces energies, and they couldn't be more different. Pisces is very interior, and so Neptune is very interior and otherworldly. It's spiritual versus physical. There's a physicality that I always associate with Mars. So when they come together, it's like the meeting of these two very different worlds. And it can almost be like having Mars in Pisces, which is fraught with its own issues. But in any case, I did compile a list, and I want to thank horoscopejoy.com for this information. I've never gone on their site before, but I found that they had some stuff on this subject. And I'm paraphrasing things, so don't think that this may be what they were trying to say, because who knows, maybe I misunderstood them. But anyway, this is definitely going to make you idealistic and passionate in life. And that can play out in different areas. It might be what kind of job that you choose. Like you might choose a job that is helping people that you feel are disadvantaged in life. And Mars is kind of like the knight in shining armor, so to speak, that's coming to save people. There's another phrase or cliche that I wanted to say. I can't think of it right now. But the savior that comes in, the hero, and tries to help people. But one of the things that I think can be problematic about this is if you are trying to help somebody that doesn't need to be helped. Now, this is not necessarily individuals. This can be more of a certain group or a certain cause that you might have that you're very idealistic about. But ultimately, individuals are connected with that. That's why I'm saying, that this could have a disillusioning effect if you are met with a strong dose of reality. And one of the things that they mentioned was that you might have unusual experiences in life, and this is due to how you perceive life. So and I think that's because of the Neptune, sometimes people think that life is suffering. or that, you know, that there's like they think in those kinds of tragic terms. So they find themselves compelled, and I would say being compelled is that Mars energy, to go down a certain path that gives them that very outcome that they were looking for, that confirms what they think life is about. Now, how this can play out, and I'm certainly not saying that this is something that would affect the vast majority of people, is like drug addiction, for instance. I can't remember who it was, but I'm talking about somebody famous. But sometimes people are intrigued by these situations in life that are, I think this is the Mars thing of kind of dangerous and tragic at the same time. And they can just feel like either an obsession, a compulsion to put themselves there, especially if your Mars and your Neptune are in a sign like Pisces, because that's already going to be, or even Scorpio. I could see that as well. Yeah, there was somebody that I was reading about, and they really went down into that dark side of life because they were so fascinated by it. They probably were bored by, the straight life. But again, that would have to be other things, other factors that would make somebody do that. It can be a simple situation where you just go through life with a certain otherworldly aura that other people pick up on, and that leads you to attract certain experiences and people to you that are out of the norm. But there can be that spiritual connection. So other people may see you and think that you are the kind of person who is very magnetic in some way. Because I think Neptune rules photography. And so there's like this glamour associated with Neptune that can give you that. It's almost like the thing that came in my mind was raw animal magnetism, but it's not really like that because there's a touch of the divine that's connected to that, which is even better. And but it's something that could lead you into like spiritual exploration as well. So it's not necessarily that if you attract other people, it's going to be some kind of a base experience. It could be something quite elevated. And in terms of like how your ambition plays out here, or your drive, you are willing to work for something as long as it's showing that it is viable, and if you feel inspired by it. So this is always going to be true for somebody with Mars, is that or Aries placements, is that they tend to initiate things, but then they can peter out when they lose interest in it. But usually people lose interest in things when it stalls or when it doesn't bear fruit. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And that's how this placement is. Or if you don't feel fulfilled, that could be another one. And I could see somebody with this conjunction who could walk away from something, even if it was lucrative, if it didn't fill up your soul. And other people might think that's crazy, but that could be just how idealistic you are, that you would do something like that. And it said on this site that many of you can communicate with the spiritual dimension. I don't really know why, besides the fact that it's connected to Neptune, why that would be, because Mars to me is more on the physical level. Yes, Neptune is related to the spiritual realms, but that doesn't automatically mean that, to me, that it would have to do with communicating with spirits or anything like that. But I'm just saying what they said. And you are very imaginative, and that can be parlayed into artistic endeavors, and some of you may be doing that. Yeah, no, I can see, like, with Mars, it could even be what you really are into, what you're doing. So maybe even as a career, if you're in any kind of intuitive field, that could certainly be the case. But also artistic projects might be something that is really appealing to you, that you really want to do. Now, in terms of other things that are going on here, if this probably be if you have other things that threaten this area of life, because you could be somebody who is irresponsible, who doesn't take responsibility for their actions. So, Mars can be the actions, and Neptune can be the denial of one's actions. Neptune can be an escapist. So this is why it's important when people have Pisces placements and certain contexts in Neptune, that they really look at how they deal with stress and other things like that are challenges to them. Because sometimes someone with a prominent Pisces or a hard contact to Neptune can have escapist tendencies, and even like beneficial or easy aspects to Neptune. You never know. That could even play out like that, just because of the nature of Neptune. But you have to really be on top of that, because you might even lie to yourself and act like it's not that big of a deal, when in fact it has created a lot of chaos in your life. And you have to be very grounded about your visions. You don't want to go off and start doing something that is totally unrealistic. And yes, of course, taking chances is always a good thing, but sometimes when Neptune is involved, the person's what's that word? Like their judgment is clouded, so they are not doing something in a very clear-headed way. And there was something else. They talk about being law-abiding, and this can be somebody who's kind of like doesn't follow the law. I don't know exactly why. I mean, I know that they attribute sketchy behavior to Neptune, but Mars, maybe, but yeah, Mars, like cops and soldiers or something like that, that it could be, maybe if that connects to the law in some way, that would be it. Another thing that was very interesting is they talk about not being able to project to others who you are. And that was another thing I was confused about, like, what does it have to do with Mars? Neptune, I would understand that. And I think because Mars rules the first house in astrology and is the house of the self, that there's where that conflict of interest with Neptune, which is all about illusion, comes in. So the person can almost want to present themselves as something other than they are. Like that could be their MO even. And if the chart indicates like moral weakness, this can be used to be a con artist or something like that. But for the high-minded person, this combination can underscore a desire to work for those less fortunate and make the world a better place. So that's very good. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.